The day Avenue disappeared will always be remembered by his family. Avenue was family, not just a pet. Avenue has lived with his family since he was a child. He was a Great Dane and really loved people. For many years, Avenue had been the most important thing in their lives. He made people happy in a way that only a dog could, from early morning walks to late-night cuddles. Every family holiday, every big event for the kids, and even days when life seemed heavy, he was there. His tail moved back and forth and his happy yelp could cheer anyone up. His leaving seemed like a huge blow to the gut. It was just another afternoon. Avenue chased a frisbee while the kids played in the yard. He didn't answer the door when she called him for dinner, so the mom kept calling. "Avenue! Hey, kid!" When she spoke, her voice was a little off. She got scared because he didn't bounce around the corner like he usually did. The family looked all over the yard and kept calling his name. As the minutes went by, they became more and more desperate. The mom was scared when she saw the side yard gate open. "No," she said, her scared voice shaking. The family looked at the street, the yard, and the close trees. People called nearby shelters, knocked on doors, and put up flyers. They couldn't sleep because they were so worried. The hours seemed to last forever. Avenue wasn't anywhere, though. Hope started to fade as the weeks turned into months. When Avenue's tail and silly smile were gone, their house felt empty. A cloud hung over his family, and they all felt heavy, even though they didn't say it. The mom sat by the window and looked out at the yard like she was hoping he'd just appear. With tears in her eyes, she would say to herself, "What if he's hurt?" The dad tried to be strong for his kids, but he was hurting inside. He often stayed up late to see what animal rescue pages and groups for people who had lost their pets had to offer. Children, who usually move around a lot, suddenly became calm. Emily, who was the youngest, stopped playing outside altogether. Avenue's bed in the corner of the living room was empty, and she couldn't stand it. Avenue wasn't at dinner with his family one night, and there was a clear hole. The quiet was broken by Emily's shaky voice. "Do you think he's okay?" Her dad reached across the table and grabbed her hand. "I know he's thinking of us wherever he is," he added, even though his voice was shaking. No matter how hard the family tried to move on, it looked like something was wrong. Avenue was not the kind to run away. He loved them too much. The mom said one night, he wouldn't just leave. He must have had something happen to him. After 3 months after his disappearance, there was a noise in the yard that broke up the peace. "Mom! Dad! There's something outside!" Emily screamed and pointed at the door, made of glass that slid open and shut. The shocked family ran to the window, their eyes wide with shock. Avenue was outside right there in the yard. He was scratched and dirty. "Oh my God, Avenue!" the mom yelled and threw open the door. Avenue moved forward slowly and carefully. His moves were stiff and didn't feel right. The shine in his golden hair was gone, and it looked dull and tangled. His eyes, which are usually very bright, looked far away. "Avenue!" The dad got down on his knees and asked, "Is that really you?" He carefully put out his hand because he didn't know what Avenue would do. There was something off about Avenue, even though his tail wags aren't very strong. It looked like someone had sucked the life out of him because his head was sagging and his ears slanted. She rushed over to hug him. She said, "You're back," with tears in her eyes. But Avenue didn't answer as enthusiastically as she usually does. Instead, he stopped and his body didn't move. With worry on her face, the mom looked at her husband. In a weak voice, she said, "He's still alive. There is a problem, though." The family was very happy at first when Avenue came back. They loved him very much, cleaned him up, and gave him the sweets he liked best. Emily even tried to play fetch with him, but Avenue wouldn't pick up the ball. From the start, it was clear that Avenue wasn't the same dog that had been lost for months. He would often just stare off into the distance for hours at a time. He would growl if someone got too close to his food or moved in a way that scared him. The mom woke up one night to the sound of scratching. As she went downstairs, her heart was racing. She saw Avenue biting hard on the front door while his breathing was all over the place. She called him in a soft voice. "Avenue!" He turned around to look at her. In the dim light, his eyes were very bright. She wasn't sure who he was for a moment. His family tried to make him feel better, but he did more strange things every day. He moaned as he fell asleep, turned away to the stairs, and fought to get on the couch. One night, the mom told her husband that Avenue looks like a different dog. The dad, however, told her that Avenue's been through something. Let him have some time. Time didn't seem to be useful, though. Avenue began to avoid some parts of the house because his ears were pushed back and his body was stiff. He would growl and bark at any sound, no matter how small. They used to love their family dog, but now it looked like an alien. Because Avenue's family was afraid about his health, they took him to the doctor. The doctor, who has been taking care of Avenue since he was a baby, was as nice as always when she saw them. When she saw how badly Avenue was hurt, her smile broke. She was shocked right away by how he was acting. Avenue came to a stop at the clinic's front door. He had flat ears and his tail tucked between his knees. He got down on his knees and spoke softly to him. "Hi, Avenue. What happened to you, buddy?" she asked, putting her hand on top of his head. Avenue jumped a little, but he let her touch him a few seconds later. Avenue walked into the exam room with a tight back and quickly looked around. As a vet tech with a stethoscope walked in, he barked loudly at him, something he had never done before. People were also scared about what Avenue did in the clinic. It was the first time he had ever growled at the vet techs. He chose not to take the test. He was stiff and his eyes were moving all over the room. Mom found it hard to say, but this wasn't like him. The vet replied that the dog had indeed gone through something, so they would have to take it slowly. To begin the careful exam, she felt Avenue's body to see if there were any cuts or scrapes. The look on her face got worse as she worked, and she looked at the scars on his sides. In a low voice, she said, "These scars?" The mom leaned in closer and made faces. "What about them?" The vet stood up straight and lightly touched Avenue's back. "They're too clean for it to be a mistake. They weren't caused by something natural or by an animal attack. These look like wounds from surgery." The whole family was quiet, and her words felt heavy in the air. The mom quickly put her hand to her mouth, and her voice shook. "Surgical?" The dad added, "Are you saying someone did this to him?" It took the vet a moment to decide to nod. "It's possible. But first, let me look at something else." The lights were turned down, and she got a small UV light. The light slowly moved over Avenue's hair. "This might seem strange, but I've seen some strange things at work," she said. When the light hit the scars, it gave them a weak but bright glow. Everyone got cold. "What is that?" the mom asked, in a voice that was almost a whisper. The vet's face was too dark to read as she turned off the UV light. "Tags are most likely what it is. Tags are used to keep track of or identify animals in labs. Those kinds of grades have been given in the past." When she began to cry, her mom put her hand over her mouth. "You're saying he was experimented on?" The vet doctor winced and nodded. "That's what I'd say. Very likely. Also, it might also help to clarify his actions. He has experienced mental as much as physical harm. The way Avenue whined and put his head on his mom's lap made it look like he could feel her pain." The vet spoke in a low voice. "The next step is to get blood work done. If there are chemical clues or other strange things, we might have a better idea of what he's been exposed to." Everyone in the family agreed, but they were scared. As the doctor set up the tools, Max cried again, and his eyes looked like he was begging the family. After the blood work was done, the vet met up with the family again to talk about what she now knew. She told them that she thought Avenue was being used for a test. Many chemicals I can't name were found in high amounts in his blood tests, which shows that there are problems. These drugs aren't generally used to treat animals, and a dog wouldn't find them in the wild. The family was shocked and looked at each other. It was hard to handle the thought that someone had meant to hurt their pet. "What kind of experiments?" the dad asked in a stern voice. What on earth could they have been doing to him? When the vet stopped, her lips formed a narrow line. She stated that she'll be honest. I don't know all the answers. I think they were trying chemicals or maybe anything else to change his body or behavior, but I can't be sure. The room was quiet after she spoke. The mum got sick all at once. With tears in her eyes, she asked, "Who would do something like this?" The vet's shaking head showed that she was mad. I'm not sure, but whatever did happen to him was wrong, and it hurt his body and mind for a long time. Avenue just sat there at their feet. His eyes used to be bright, but now they were dull. He seemed to know what was being said and felt bad about what happened. Mom dropped down on her knees next to him and buried her face in his fur. She whispered to him, saying he didn't deserve this. Her voice cracked. Nobody in the family was alone in their worry. Within days, city officials and animal rights groups got involved in Avenue's story. Animal testing had been thought to be banned for a long time at a nearby lab. Investigators used Avenue's scars and chemical marks in his blood to trace it. The family of Avenue was told by an officer that they think he either got away or was left behind when the facility shut down. The mom leaned in close to her husband and grabbed his arm. In her barely audible voice said, "He's been through so much." It was hard to hear her speak. The police officer gave a serious nod. The facility was investigating changes to chemicals and genes. They were very good at hiding their tracks, so it took us years to build a case against them. Avenue might be the only proof we have. The dad had his hands clenched. Are you telling me that this whole thing could have been avoided? That Avenue would not have been hurt if you had shut them down sooner? The police officer sighed and lowered his head. I know how upset you are, but things like this take time. Now, Avenue's safety is the most important thing. Avenue could also feel how tense the room was. He became more close to his family and spent more time with them. He sat with his head on her lap more often, and Emily could see that he quietly needed help. One afternoon, Avenue's mom sat in the yard and watched him play in the grass. In a soft voice, she said, "He's trying so hard to fit in. He's still here with us, although having gone through hell." "Yes," her husband said. "He's a soldier. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen to him again." Avieu's scars would never go away, but his family gave him the best life they could. They worked with trainers and animal behaviorists all the time to help him deal with his worry. At first, things moved slowly. Avenue jerked when he heard loud noises and refused to go up the stairs. Every slow step he took showed how scared he was. It was hard not to feel down sometimes, even though the teachers told us to be patient and keep going. One night, Emily crossed her legs on the living room floor and slowly threw a ball toward Avenue. At first, he didn't pay attention because his eyes were moving around the room too fast. But after a while, he pushed it with his nose, which made Emily happy. The mom watched the small win with tears in her eyes and said, "He's starting to come back to us." Avenue began to trust again slowly. He learned to go up and down the stairs with the help of treats and praise. He also stopped barking when someone came close to his food. This is what he did before he was taken. He barked at the mailman. It made everyone in his family happy. One nice day, Avenue wagged his tail while his family sat in the yard. He hadn't done that in months. Someone picked up a frisbee, and when Avenue chased it with odd but deliberate moves, everyone was shocked. The mom put her hand over her heart and watched. In a soft, upbeat tone, she said, "He's coming back to us." Even though they will never know everything that happened to Avenue while he was gone, his family learned a lot about love and strength. The trip Avenue took wasn't just about living. It was also about getting better and finding hope even when things were bad. Coming back from the edge showed that even the worst scars can start to heal with enough love and care from family. Avenue will always feel and see his past, but his happy tail and loving eyes show how strong he was. He was tough and taught the family how important it is to look out for people who can't look out for themselves. On calm nights, the mom would sit next to Avenue, and he'd let her pet his fur while he sat on her lap. He was home and loved. That much she knew. But she often thought about what he had been through those months. Even though they would never get back the pain of his tragedy, Avenue's family found comfort in the fact that he had a second chance, a chance to live the happy, carefree life he had always deserved. There's a good chance that the love and support we find along the way will bring us more joy than the things we achieve. For Avenue and his family, their story was about getting better, having hope, and the strong bond between a dog and his family.